Good morning, everyone. Out here taking a walk in the bee yard, just checking things out. And I got a little something I want to do today. So I figured I'd bring y'all along since there's really nothing going on with the bees this time of year for me. This is Barry's Best Honey. I'm Mike and I do bees. Welcome back to Southeast Louisiana. September 24th, beautiful morning, 65, cool, a little muggy, still got some humidity. Next week we're back in the 50s for our lows. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Fall is upon us. And the bees, well, they've worked hard this year. And now it's time to just kind of leave them alone. But one of them, we don't want to leave alone. So I'm out here looking to see, and you're seeing it with me for the first time, to see if they're still around or whether they have been robbed out or what. And that's because I am pretty much 90% sure they are queenless. Now in the last video we checked on that nuke and it was doing just fine. That little colony next door to it is stacked too high. It's not really that little, but it's got a good amount of bees. It was kind of weak, but I look at that nuke right now and I see them bringing in pollen. Goldenrod has started blooming, not full force yet, but it's blooming. It's a beautiful morning. Pollen's coming in. It's 8:30 in the morning. And all the bees are flying and looking good. And what I came to do was to look and see if the suspected colony had wax cappings or no activity or what was going on with them. Because if they are truly queenless, which we'll determine here shortly, we are going to combine them. Now if you remember from the last video, again, we checked on this little nuke. Okay, and it was good. They were covering and it looks like they're doing fine. And we checked on a suspected queenless colony back there that turned out to be just fine as well. Good to go. But if you remember from videos past, I said I thought I had 2 colonies that were queenless. Later that afternoon after that video, I did go in this one and just check. I wasn't going to take you along with that. It's just checking, and sure enough found no eggs, no capped, or no sealed brood, no uncapped brood, nothing. And if they had been queen right, we should have at least saw some remnants of cap brood at a minimum if they lost their queen recently or whatever. So that tells me they've been without a queen for a pretty significant amount of time. Maybe during the treatments, maybe not. I suspect it was during the treatment, so I must have got one with the goop maybe, or who knows if she died or sick, who knows. I've always had an issue with that little colony, and it's this one right here, the single. This was a colony that years back was so super mean, aggressive to the point I had to kill the queen, knock back half the field bees, requeen it, and they finally calmed down. But they've been sketchy for the last 2 years. They've produced some honey. Not saying they are not producers, but they've been a struggle. Well, the thing with this box is it's full of honey. It really is. It's probably got 6 frames of honey and 4 that aren't completely full of honey. Maybe by now they are. So we need to go in there and look, because it's been a week since I looked before, and if they're queenless that long, we could be turning them into a laying worker colony, which we don't want to do. I think we'll be fine with them though. I don't think they've turned into that. But we need to go in and verify that. Why didn't I combine them last week? Well, to be honest with you, it was the end of the day and I wasn't ready to combine them, and then work took over for the week. But I knew they would be okay. I'm not sweating it. There's not that many bees, so I'm not really concerned that we're going to save this massive amount of bees. If they had dwindled, my biggest concern was don't lose the equipment. Don't lose the equipment, and don't start robbing, and don't let them rob, because I don't want all my bees taking part in that colony if there is something wrong. Now, combining, for me at the end of the season, I'm pretty careful about that. I don't just automatically start combining. What happens then is if you combine a very sick colony with a very good colony and a queen, you've doomed 2 instead of 1. At the same time, you got to watch, let them rob each other out, because if they're loaded with mites, you create a mite bomb somewhere else. All kinds of different things to think about. So I'm very careful about combining. So I don't just combine everything, but I know they've been treated. They weren't sickly. I just think we lost the queen. Maybe with the strips, the goo got them. I don't know. but I don't think they're really sickly, and they were treated. So I'm going to combine them with a single. Now, longtime viewer, Nancy Knowlton, Pennsylvania, am I right? Yes. No? Anyway, longtime viewer, Nancy Knowlton, had talked about when we went through them. Hey, you got nukes, you got queenless colonies, 2 queenless colonies, you got a couple nukes, good deal, boom, you combine the nukes and off you go. And that is a perfect plan, and that's what I would normally do earlier in the season, or even now, because that's what the nukes are for. They're resource nukes. So you say, well, then why are you putting it on a single, Mike? Well, because, and it is a toss-up. I thought about it, and I hate to take a chance on that single because it's a good single, but at the same time, I don't think they're sick. So I could just put a nuke queen, a resource queen in there and call it a day, but then if that's not accepted, it's a long deal. But nonetheless, I'm looking at it as, okay, we're going into the end of the season. I've got about 3 singles I'm gonna have to feed. This thing's loaded with honey. It's got some bees in it. I'll lose the foragers, of course, to the hives next door. They'll drift over, but I can put this on that single and I don't have to feed it now. So I'm picking the single that I like the least, if that's good enough, and putting it on there, and I'm gonna leave the nukes alone and hope to use them as production colonies next year. It's a toss-up, Nancy. It's a toss-up if you're watching. But yeah, you nailed it. That's normally what we should do, is grab those nukes. Just gonna, and I think I explained in the comment that I'm just gonna do it with this single. So let's get busy and get that done. So first things first, we need to determine if they truly are queenless, or if we let them go too long, into a laying worker. They were a little testy, but that was another reason I think they were queenless. I'm gonna give them a lot of smoke. If they're queen right, I'm not looking for the queen, I'm looking for eggs anyway. Gonna give them a lot of smoke, let them calm down for a second. Even though there's some goldenrod starting to bloom, and I'm seeing pollen coming in and everybody's happy-go-lucky, I do not ever discount robbing in the fall. Even with the heaviest of goldenrod flows that we have had robbing. So I will not discount robbing. That's just me, folks. That's just me. Because you know, I'm not here telling you how to. I'm just doing how I do. So the bee population doesn't look wonderful, but it doesn't look bad. I'm not seeing a lot of beetles on the lid. That's good. Meaning, if they are queenless and dwindling, they're not being taken over by beetles. If I remember when I looked in here, this is an old box. I've had this colony a long time. They don't seem loud. It would be nice if they were queen right, but I didn't see any signs, folks. Nectar, lots of honey. That's about how they all look, and that's honey solid. This thing is so much honey. Only the middle has a few empty frames. I hear a hum, but not a roar. They're keeping it open like there's a queen. They're keeping them polished. Real quick glance to make sure. They're cleaning the centers out. Double check in the middle. See if they've repopulated these frames. Let's see with my light in here. Yeah, just polished cells, no eggs. And no double up eggs. Make sure we don't have laying workers. They sure act good though for a queenless colony. That's what's crazy. That's why I kind of left them. Another reason I left them last week too is they seemed okay. They were testy. All right. So how they're not runny and flighty, and this is frames that they had vacated because of the treatments, and so, you know, they weren't necessarily going to have any brood on them, any sealed brood, because there's no activity on them. They weren't working them. I'm going to the outside a little more. I went all the way through this, by the way. I didn't do like on that one a few weeks ago where I just hit some frames and said, oh, they're queenless. This one I really checked hard. Could she have just shut down during the treatment period and now started back up? We don't know. This is heavy. This is full of nectar. Oh yeah, it's all honey and nectar. Now they got a hum, but not a roar. Yeah, there's no way this thing is queen, right? Should be laying by now. Oh man, it's got a busted frame, that's right. I remember this one. Yep, I gotta get that out of there. Alright, 0 eggs. And that is a good steady, I say it's not a roar, but it is a good steady, deep hum. It's not like the roar I've heard on a queenless colony before, but alright, I gotta get this broken frame out. I think I picked it up last week somehow. I don't know what I did with it. See if I can get this out. Yeah, this is broke on both sides. See, I got a top bar gone. This would have to come out anyway. Let's see if we can get this out. Oh yeah, here we go. Oh, yep, slipped. There's still some drones in the colonies down here. Yeah, there's nothing here, folks. Nothing here to see. Get this out of here. Be a good colony just throw on top of that other one. It'll give them some stores. Give them a chance to build up in the goldenrod. So I'm gonna cover them up. We'll go get some frames. I'll get everything ready and we'll combine them. All right, we got our box of bees. I brought the whole thing over because I want to shake everything in here because we do have a lot of foragers out this morning. Let's take a look at this. These were kind of mean at one point. And I'm gonna close them for a second. I'm giving them a lot because I don't feel like dealing with a lot. And what I do, folks, is a newspaper combine, just like you've seen everywhere else. I know, I don't have to use newspaper, but after a few years of doing it and learning bees and growing my bees, it's just something that's always worked. Let's do a newspaper combine. All right, let's see how that did them. Yeah, that's a good box of bees, 9 frames of bees. Let's make sure the queen, look at there, the queen is on the lid. Wow, good thing we did not just assume that she wouldn't be here and combine her in the top. I don't have my clip with me, and I don't want to grab her with my gloves, so I'm gonna push her on down with my finger. Let's get her on down. Go on down. Go on. There she goes. All right, I saw her go down. That stirred them up, but they'll go to the front. So, while that did stir them up, they're actually going all down to the entrance. That's what we want. No newspaper combined. So I always like to see what article I'm going to give them to read. Got a ton of bees in here. Caesar Sports Book. I don't want them bedding. This is an old paper. More rescued from the steel plant. Yeah, we're just going to leave them with the front page instead of this second page. I do cut a few slits. Some days if I'm not using any mist, I'll cut more. Now, that's plenty. I take a little bit of mist. It's not cool weather yet. A little bit of moisture on the paper, that's enough. And we're going to take this other box and put it on here. of this box. We'll go right on here. That's heavy. That's a good amount of honey. That's good. All right. It's always a pain getting it on there because you can't see the box because of the newspaper. So maybe I shouldn't use newspaper, right? Nah, I like it. It's what I do. I'm gonna rip the newspaper off the edges, just so it's less I gotta clean up later. There we go. They're combined. Now what I want to do is shake the rest of the bees from this colony back on themselves. They've all went to the top for whatever reason, and I got them a frame. That's a lot of bees. Got them a frame. Stick this in here. All right, put the lid on, call it a day. Let's get some bees in here. There we go. Put a brick on it. We're good to go. Well, there you are, folks. Newspaper combined, how I do it. Something else I failed to mention as I was thinking about what I had said on my video, because believe it or not, us YouTubers do think about what we're saying and what we said and did we cover everything. One thing I do look for when I combine is I was talking about combining. I was talking about a little bit about weak colonies over strong or vice versa. I'm also careful to look for, you know, how many beetles were in there, how many bees were in there, how many frames did I just move on top of a colony, how strong was the colony I moved them on top of. I definitely don't want to move something where I see a bunch of beetles, not a ton of bees, and even though they may even have them corralled, they could be laying eggs throughout that frame, and I just put an entire hatchery on top of a mediocre colony. I just doomed them both. Well, one was doomed already, but the other one is definitely doomed. Again, weak versus strong, sick versus healthy, infested versus non-infested. Combining to me is was thrown around there really easily about just combined colonies, but I'm real careful about that because I have I've decimated some colonies before early on just by going, oh, just combine them, boom, they'll be fine. No, you just overwhelmed the colony that had the queen. So that was me. Talking about me, I just overwhelmed. When I say you, that was me talking to me. Oh yeah, okay, I'm out. We've accomplished a few things. We've now given that single stores, so don't have to worry too much about feeding them. Most likely, we'll check them, of course, but that box is 40 pounds. We have saved a good amount of bees that were in there, and the field bees back there, they'll find the colonies next door to go to. We've also managed to save equipment, and we also combined them before we lost them to laying workers. So I left it last week because it was late. I didn't have everything ready to go. I didn't feel like doing it at the point. The bees looked decent, and I wanted to give them one more week. I was not concerned that they would go laying worker. I really wasn't. I just had a good feeling that they weren't going to go laying worker, just with the time frame and what I was seeing. They looked good. They got stores. There's open space to put more nectar. The goldenrod flow is here and coming, and it's going to last for a while. We'll see what they do. I will not go back in these for 2 weeks. 2 weeks, I give them to combine, mesh, and do their thing. So there you go. I'm done with that. That's all the bee work I'm going to do today. I appreciate everybody joining me. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, if you don't mind, of course. It's Barry's Best Honey. I'm Mike, and I do bees. Y'all have a wonderful day, and may God bless you. We'll see y'all later.